Okay, now let's go ahead with the next term. The next term that we are going to get introduced with is metaphor. Of course, this is a very familiar term. You've been, learning metaphor since the time you started studying poetry. So, a metaphor is a very popular literary device, a figure of speech that makes a comparison between two unlike things. Of course, in simile as well, we have this comparison. But the difference between a metaphor and simile is that in metaphor, there's a comparison between two dissimilar things, unlike things, without using like or as. In simile, there is a use of like or as. Okay, when somebody says, my love is like a red, red rose, you must have studied a poem. My love is like a red, red rose is an example of simile. And my love is a red, red rose is an example of metaphor. So it's a matter of using these two connectives like or as. So metaphor is a means of asserting that two things are identical in comparison. Means they have some common qualities, identical, just like twins. They are not just similar, but they are identical. There are certain common qualities which are same. So this is useful in literature. This kind of figure of speech is useful in literature for using specific images or concepts to talk about abstract ideas. There are many abstract things. For example, love, beauty, okay, emotions, feelings. These are abstract truths, abstract ideas. To talk about these abstract ideas, metaphor is used. For example, see the rose, the glory of the day is a line from Edmund Spenser's poem. Here you can see that lady is compared implicitly with the rose without using like or as. See is the rose. Now, what is the common quality that makes the poet to compare a lady with a rose? Of course, it is beauty, attractiveness, freshness. So these are certain qualities of the rose that the poet finds in that lady. Okay, and even he calls her the glory of the day. It is one more metaphor, the shining sun of the day. So again, it is owing to her beauty, her attractiveness, the happiness that she brings in his life. So this is how metaphor is used. And if we say she is like the rose, that becomes a simile. That is the basic difference between a metaphor and simile. One more example, which is very famous example, metaphors in literature, that is found in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet the sun. What light through yonder window breaks? What light does come through that window? It is the east, and Juliet the sun. So Juliet is called the sun. So in this metaphor, Juliet is compared to the sun. Okay, so this is what metaphor is. So this metaphor is often used in modern criticism in a wider sense to identify analogies of all kinds in literature. Analogies means you might be knowing a kind of comparison. To explain something, you give an example. That is an analogy. So analogies of all kinds in literature, painting and film can be considered as metaphors. Okay. Having discussed metaphors, of course, metaphor is a very wide term. I suggest you to get more information about metaphor by referring to M.H. Abrams' Glossary of Literary Terms, wherein he talks about different types of metaphors. Okay, and he talks about the terms, technical terms like vehicle and all. That will be too technical for the people at this stage. Therefore, I am not going into details. Okay, of the term metaphor. But if you refer to M.H. Abrams, the students who are interested in getting more information about metaphor should refer to that book. You will come across detailed information about it. Now we shall go ahead with another term which is just like metaphor, which is often confused with metaphor, I can say. Metonymy. Metonymy is one more figure of speech in which one object or idea takes the place of another. It is not simply comparison. It takes the place of another with which it has a close association. Of course, metaphor also finds this close association. But metonymy, in metonymy, one object takes place of another object. That is the difference. Here, for example, in metaphor we saw sea is the roads. Means the comparison is made. That is implicit comparison. We can understand it easily. But here in metonymy, the object takes place of another object. So, in fact, metonymy means change of name itself. The name itself is changed. When we talk about metonymy as a literary device, we understand that it is a way of replacing an object or idea with something related to it instead of stating what it actually meant. Okay, the related term is used. And the use of metonymy makes it possible for the writers to express, enables writers to express a word or thought in a different way by using a closely related word or thought. So we can call it a method for writers to bring variation in their way of expressing and producing an effect on the reader. Now let's take the example of the silver screen. You must have come across the supplements of newspaper, Chanderi Dunia. Now, as soon as I say Chanderi Dunia, I'm sure that you understand the meaning of that particular phrase. The silver screen is an excellent example of the use of metonymy. So this phrase, silver screen, is a figure of speech, which means it is used for effect rather than the literal meaning. Okay, and it substitutes the concept for movies. It is a substitute concept for movies, movie theaters, etc. Means we in Marathi as well, we when we say Chanderi Dunia, we understand that we are talking about film world, film industry. So it is a substitute term. The word screen in this phrase is related to the way movies were traditionally shown or screened in a theater. And silver is associated with original black and white films and the glitter of Hollywood. Hollywood itself is a metonymy. So as metonymy, it can take the place of words such as movie, theater, film, etc. So this makes us understand that words such as movie or film aren't overused. Means every now and then, if you say films, so that can be overused. Instead of that, we can say Chanderi Dunia or silver screen. Some more examples of metonymy in everyday expressions are listed here. For example, just now I mentioned Hollywood. Hollywood represents associations with the movie industry, especially Western movie industry. Okay, California is the best in the USA for Hollywood. We talk about English movies or Hollywood movies. Hollywood is the word, is the metonymy. And what is the word for Hindi film industry? Can you tell me what is the metonymy for Hindi?
Bollywood.
Yes, Bollywood. So Bollywood is the metonymy used to refer to Hindi film industry. And likewise, we have Tollywood, etc. Tollywood is used in the context of Telugu movies and Tamil movies, etc. Another important means another example is turf. Turf represents associations with area of residence or expertise. The term metonymic term turf is used to refer to associations with area of residence or expertise. Means society in colony you have got turf, that is association. Then feds. Now, feds represents associations with government law enforcement. Federal, for example, we say it is short form of federal. Feds. Then press is a very famous term. Press represents associations with news organizations. Okay, Press Trust of India, for example. So this is how we understand metonymy. Academics is one more term. You can go through the list. There are many other terms. Management is another term. Academics, for example, represents association with school, college, uh, university, classes, or studying, etc. So this is not allowed in academics, we say. So this is the common term to refer to any kind of uh, educational activity. Then management is a very known term to people. So it represents associations with administration, leadership, or person in charge of something. Now, many times what happens, we get confused with metonymy, synecdoche, and metaphor. We need to understand the difference between these terms. Metonymy is often confused with synecdoche. Okay, because these literary devices are so I'm sorry. Synecdoche is a figure of speech, they can be differentiated. Synecdoche is a figure of speech in which a part of something is used to signify the whole. Okay, it is a part of something which is used to signify the whole. For example, a common synecdoche for marriage proposal is to ask for someone's hand in marriage. हाथ मांगना is the synecdoche. मैं आपकी बेटी का हाथ मांगने के लिए आया हूँ. So that is what. So this is synecdoche. Mishap means what exactly? A person means a part is used for the whole. And the hand in this case is just a part that signifies the whole person who is receiving the proposal. So whereas metonymy is a figure of speech in which one word is used to replace another, to which it is closely linked. For example, the crown, when we say the crown stands for the king, the empire. When we say the New Delhi has declared, so New Delhi, the capital city of India, and here New Delhi is replaced to name India, to entire India. That is what metonymy is. So unlike synecdoche, it is not a part of the word or idea it represents. But both metonymy and synecdoche are related to metaphor. And we just now understood that metaphor is a figure of speech. So as a literary device, the purpose of metaphor is to compare two unlike things without using the word like or as. There's a comparison. And there are also comparative aspects within metonymy and synecdoche as well. The difference between these devices can be very subtle, it is not easy to understand. but one can differentiate. So one way to differentiate metaphor is that it is used to show similarity between two separate things which appear unrelated. Now let's see the examples which will help you understand this difference. Life is a climb, but the view is great. Life is a climb. So very beautiful message for you people. Life is a climb, but the view is great. Okay, here, life is being compared to a climb. जीवन हे एक चढ चढणं आहे, म्हणजे अवघड चढ आहे. बट एकदा चढलात तुम्ही, द व्ह्यू इज ग्रेट. त्यानंतर जे तुम्हाला दिसतं ते दृश्य ते मात्र सुंदर असतं. आपण चढून गेल्यानंतरच ते सौंदर्य दिसतं. सो मेटाफोर here is life, life which is compared with a climb. And there is a mountain of work on my desk. Here, mountain is used as a word that would be related to pile. ढिगारा, कामाचा ढिगारा पडलाय. कामाचा, there is a mountain of work. So mountain is the word which is replaced, which is substituted, pile over here. Today, I hit my job peak. Okay, so this is an example of synecdoche. Peak is used here to indicate that the highest point of the speaker's career experience. Peak, one point, one part of his job. That is the highest point. So peak is the part of the whole. The mountain has a peak. It is a part of the whole. So synecdoche is, in synecdoche, a part is used to refer to the whole. Just now I told you, hand is used to refer to entire person, the person itself. So this is how we can understand the difference.